So let's dive into this. Where we start, it's the selling and enrolling process. The question for a new recruit, and the question for you, where do I spend my time? Time is the issue. Time is your top competitor. So here's some recommendations based on people that are successful in our industry. On the left, it says working 3 to 6 hours per week. Not very many hours, but some. It's a business. Notice it says team building 25%, right? Selling and recruiting 75%. What's the difference? Well, selling is selling to customers. Recruiting or enrolling is getting people to join the business. That's a personal business, what I do with individuals. I'm selling and I'm enrolling. Most of your time is spent doing that. Team building is the coaching, mentoring, training piece. And if you're working 3 to 6 hours, you don't have a lot of time for that. You have to focus on your personal business mostly. Now, if you work some more, like an elite manager would, 8 to 12 hours per week, you're going to split it typically. So that half of your time is spent selling and recruiting. You're growing your team, selling and recruiting. Where do we meet our prospective recruits? Customers, right? Both new customers and existing customers who love the product, they are very more likely to be recruits. The DSA, Direct Selling Association, did a study a few years ago and found that 54% of all new recruits were using the product before they made the decision to join the company as an associate, which makes sense. And then the other half, team building. Now, these are not fixed numbers, but this is what we find as we interview and survey people working at these levels. So roughly half and half. Team building, the other half selling and recruiting. Simple. Okay, number one, lead by example. We talked of that already. As goes the team manager, so goes the team. It is through the process of selling that we find people. Right? If you were to approach me, you know, we're sitting on a plane somewhere, and you're going to talk to me about New Earth. Would you start the conversation talking to me about an amazing product? Would you start the conversation talking to me about an amazing business opportunity? Elise.
Neither. I would ask you questions about you.
Good job. And based upon my answers, then what?
I'm seeking to learn as much as I can about you in that era.
And you figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Good job. Perfect answer. Generally, most companies today are training their sales force to lead with product and follow with opportunity. So even if I talk to you, even if you ask me questions and you were able to get me to say, you know, I'm not happy in my current job, you know, I'm not making enough, I need to earn some more, they cut my hours back or whatever, which would be a perfect opportunity setup, it still would be appropriate to lead with a product in many cases, but it might be a short lead. Amazing products, but there's a business opportunity here for you too. Get to that quickly, because that's where my big need is. You know, you'd figure that out. You have to be a master at that. But leading with a product for most people is the safe zone. Fewer no's. What happens when a person gets 10 no's in a row?
Quit.
Many of them do. Ever read the book Go for No? You know, it's a great book. In essence, the premise is figure out how many no's you have to get to a yes. And your selling system and approach and your story all determines that. And the products, of course. Wouldn't it be great if everybody we talk to said yes, but that's not the real world we live in. We get more no's than we get yeses. That's reality. Okay. Most people that join our business, when they leave our business, rejection becomes a major factor in the reason why they leave, unfortunately. So you've got to prepare them for that. Which is why helping them to share their passion about the product which has fewer no's, is so important for them to figure out that they're going to like this business. I would note, we're not a party plan company. Anyone ever been involved in a party plan company, like a Pampered Chef or anything? Really? Nobody. Interesting. Pampered Chef, you know, cookware. I've got a kitchen full of Pampered Chef products. They're really good. Parties. A kitchen consultant will talk to a friend, schedule a kitchen show, they call them, in their home, and that friend will invite their friends over, and they're in that home environment. Yeah, perfect. Tupperware, the king, the grandfather of party plan. But they'll invite friends over, and then the consultant comes over, and they cook a meal, or they cook hors d'oeuvres, or they do something with the Pampered Chef products. It's an interesting business. And the interesting thing is that every party, statistically, 86% of people that attend a party will buy something. It might be a garlic press. It might be a salt shaker. It might be a set of pots and pans worth $1,000. But they're 86%, this is industry-wide, in a party plan, buy something. So what happens is the kitchen consultant, or the consultant doing the party, never has a party with 0 sales. And this is one of the reasons that part of direct selling has twice the retention rate. There are other factors too, but the retention rate is stronger because there are fewer selling environments where there's a no. I can deal with it if 6 customers say yes and 1 customer says no. I can do that. I'm okay with that. But that's my point back to you is, in an environment where we are doing one-on-one selling, which we are, we're going to get some no's. And you've got to prepare your people for that. So the way you do that is you set the example. You coach and teach and mentor them so that you prepare them for that. Go for the no. It's okay. Selling and recruiting. What else can I add on that? I love Elisa's answer, ask questions. This is absolutely one of the most important skills that for you to learn and for you to teach. Ask questions. Elise, what are you fishing for when you ask questions?
I'm looking to see personally if there's a hunger for anything.
Good. A why. Yeah. What do they need? What do they want? Perfect. That's exactly right. You're not being nosy, but you're going to take that hunger and need and convey that back in how you can help them to solve that. Is that right?
For me, I'm actually looking for a why not. I'm looking for a segue into this is such an incredible opportunity. Why not?
Yeah, good.
Knowing why.
Right, perfect, good. I love that. I love that. So by creating an open discourse, you get the why not, and they say yes. Now, if it was me, I would then, let's suppose Elise recruits me into the business. No, let's suppose I recruit her into business. I would want to sit down with her in a private, at her kitchen table or mine or something, and talk about goals. I would talk about the why, in that conversation that you and I would have had, in the why nots, would lead into this conversation of the why. Because that's going to get me to the second level of finding my rising stars. Here's a principle. A person who has no why is very unlikely ever to be a rising star for you. And most of the time, a person without a strong why will not give you, let me say it differently, they may not be worth the time that someone else with a strong why would be. Part of the problem in our industry is that it's time driven. You're going to have to figure out who to spend your time with. This is a principle that some of the most successful leaders in our industry have taught me, that one of the leaders, $1 million a year income, he said, I spend my time with people who deserve my time, not with the people who demand my time. Your number one issue is your time. If Elise spends most of her time with people who eventually fade away and do nothing, she could have been spending that time with other people who would stick, develop, and grow. So the leader is faced constantly with this question, who are my rising stars? Because it's a time issue. And how you work any well-designed comp plan falls into this. Who do I spend my time with? Let me note, the new comp plan is designed to help you figure this out through the career path. The back office, you'll have tools to see who is working the plan and who is moving up and who is strong and who's declining. You will be in a position with the back office visuals to see who you should work with to find your rising stars. If the plan is not well designed, it can't do that. Even with the technology, it can't do that. The career path, I have learned, is the key to figuring that question out. And that is second base. You can't get to second base unless you can figure out who your rising stars are. So as Kevin and team are going to talk about the comp plan in a while, focus heavily on the career path and figure out, and Kevin, I'll stay here, but please talk to them about the behaviors and the things that the career path has and how it relates to that, finding the rising stars. So who are your rising stars? These are people, they're new recruits who would enroll their first person. And a low level, that's a rising star. They've just beat the 80% statistic. Okay? Yes, exactly. That's a rising star. They're a person who is advancing in the career path. That absolutely is a rising star. There is a person with a strong why and good follow-through, and they're producing results. They're doing things. So you got to figure out, what are they doing? And again, the career path will help you. The back office will help you. But these are your rising stars. That last point, build multiple legs. You know what a leg is, right? Okay. Right? A leg. So people ask me all the time, Dan, should I build wide or should I build deep? And my answer is always yes. It's not a choice. Time is your top competitor. So if you thought that you should go 50 wide and you got 50 active people, your time will be spent with them and nobody else. That could be a problem. Hardly anybody ever goes that wide. But the opposite is also a problem too. I recruit Mark and then I place people underneath him. Wrong strategy. Not good. Not good at all. There are a lot of reasons. We'll talk as you learn the comp plan more. You'll see. What you have to do is balance this. In the early stages of team building, the focus is actually width, because you don't have anybody below your front line. When you've only got 2 people, how deep are you? 0. I mean, 1. So you sponsor people into the business. You go wide. You teach them, and then they will start doing some things. So depth should actually be organic, natural, not artificial. A leader who says, I like to build deep. I say, tell me why. Because that's where you get strength. I've actually found the opposite. I find that leaders that have a reasonable number of producing legs, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs that are doing something good, they have staying power. I did a project some years ago with a company, revenues were roughly $30 million a month. The company implemented a new technology platform that was a catastrophe. They could not ship product for 3 months. Imagine that for just a minute. $30 million a month in revenue, and you can't ship product for 3 months. Remember the V equals C problem? Big problem. They survived it. I helped them do some analytics after the dust settled, and we identified the leaders who had survived. What I learned knocked me off my chair. Every leader that had only one strong leg was gone. Hundreds of them. Half of the leaders with 2 strong legs were gone. Half survived. More than 80% of the leaders with 3 or 4 strong legs made it through. Lesson learned. So, who are these rising stars? They are sellers who are consistent every month. They are above average. They earn strong selling income. The dollar per hour is keeping them in the game. It's people who are consistently recruiting, and people who recruit soon. They are your builders who are advancing quickly, and they're paid as title. You know what a paid as title is? You're using that today. It's the title I qualify for this month. But they're at least stable. They're not going down, they're stable. And they're helping others. They do more than minimum. This is the list. You pick the things that are important to you. Find your rising stars. Before that happens, here's a principle. As you look for rising stars, some people believe in the unicorn. This is not how organizations develop. They develop like a barrel or an egg. So as depth goes down, you find in virtually every case, it's narrow at the top, narrow at the bottom, and fat in the middle. The question is whether the egg is on its side or it's on its end. And neither is wrong. Neither is right. It's just a style. This is how organizations develop. Almost always. So width is achieved by the team building behaviors, and depth is achieved by leader behaviors. What's the leader behavior? It's the development of these team managers, the keystone, which are rarely, not very often, personal recruits. They're deeper. So I recruit Elise, who recruits Susan, who recruits Dan. Statistically, my strength will not be on my front line over time. Why? Remember the 2% leaders? Remember that one? That's 1 out of 50. If I'm a full-time leader and I'm working with 6, 7, 8 other leaders, where are they? If they were on my front line, I would literally have to have 400 to 500 people in my front line to deal with those statistics. That doesn't happen. Not in a healthy environment, doesn't. But if I go down 2, 3, 4 levels of depth, I've got my 400 or 500 people in most cases. I now can get my 4, 5, 6 leaders that I can work with. And it works. It's a law of numbers. So that's how leaders work, and they work on this basis. That, in essence, my organization grows in the first year, and it might go down 4 or 5 levels of depth, but it's going to look like an egg. I've got 40, 50, 60 people. And then in year 2, maybe I've got 200 or 300 people. And then in year 3, maybe I've got 500 or 600 or 700 people. The shape remains, but notice where the depth goes. Does this influence how we design compensation plans? Oh, yes, it does. Directly. And as you learn the comp plan, you're going to learn this works for you. Because we do not pay you a fixed amount of depth and stop in the new plan. We support the idea, if this is me up here, where are my rising stars? Well, they're scattered around this organization, right? Multiple generations deep. So the new plan you're going to see is going to help you be rewarded in every leg based upon where and how many other builders you've got below you. The more you have, the more it pays you. It's really cool. It also is going to, anyway, you're going to see it. I don't want to steal the thunder. It's really cool. But it follows the organic nature of how leader organizations grow, so that leaders can optimize their income doing the things that are building successful organizations. So the team manager or elite manager's goal is to develop all these teams inside the egg, wherever they may be. Mentoring, coaching, working, developing rising stars. So don't get hung up on working only with your personal recruits. They're great to work with, but sometimes they're not great to work with. When you enroll somebody, you don't know what you're getting, right? And so, in essence, figure out who your rising stars are. And then, here's the simple strategy. You help them to get to the next rank. It is simple. And you're going to see the comp plan. There's no rocket science here. It's going to be simple to do this. You're going to love that. So here's another principle too. If people are not advancing, you are not growing. Growth does not come simply by getting more people into your organization. In reality, more people in your organization occurs because people are advancing up the career path. That's what you focus on. That is at the headwaters of the river of growth. Remember I said that you cannot create a growth strategy in the backs of incompetent people? Competency in a well-designed comp plan is measured in the career path. It's a skill-based system. It's not just about wearing a badge. It's about what they've learned in the business to do. So if they're doing the right things, they're moving up the career path, and your checks are growing because V equals C. Your check is the fruit of career path advancement. I can't say it more clearly than that. Want more money? Sell and recruit, find your rising stars, help them advance to the next rank. Done. That's how we do it. Don't do it for them. You will be tempted from time to time to place some people below, Lucy the leader, to help her qualify. This is true of virtually all direct selling companies. But let me ask you a question. Those of you that have children, excuse me, what is your name? Ready? Yes, yes. Joni. Thank you, Joni. Do you have children, Joni? Three. How old are they?
32, 29, and 29.
What a great age group. Are you grandma yet?
No.
Oh. So when they were in their early teenage years, you wanted them to get good grades at school, I imagine. Yeah. You were their teacher, especially. Okay. Did you love them? Of course. You'd probably take a bullet for them. Give your life for them. Yep. Did you do their homework for them?
Absolutely.
Why not? I thought you loved them. Didn't you want them to get good grades and pass all the tests? Why wouldn't you do their homework for them?
I love them.
Exactly. It is the same in this business, Joni. Don't do the homework for your downline people. They have to go through the same experiences your kids go through. The experiences of succeeding and failing, this 2 steps forward and 1 step back, is a teacher. It's the greatest teacher in life. Help them to love the process, to love the journey. Don't do their homework for them. Don't say, if you sponsor somebody, I will put somebody underneath you. Don't go down that rabbit hole. You know what will happen? You'll get a phone call. You'll get a phone call that go kind of like this. Dan, next time you put somebody underneath me, give me a good one, because this one didn't work out. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Why would you place somebody under another person if it's good? There isn't one good reason. One and only one. If I recruit Elise and place her under Cheryl, are you Cheryl?
No, I'm
Bell, excuse me. If I enroll Elise and place her under Bell, the one reason that it would be good is if it helps Elise. That is it. Not to help you, not to help me, to help her. Then it's acceptable. Why? I don't have time. I've recruited 5 people in the last 5 weeks. I do not have time. Bell, who has skill and competency, can help Elise succeed. And they're virtually neighbors to boot, or whatever. If it's in Elise's best interest, go for it. Make Bell the sponsor, and then make sure Bell knows what she's got to do. You help Bell succeed as a sponsor. That's the one reason. Unfortunately, placement in our industry rarely follows that golden rule. Usually, it is for selfish interests or for payback. You know, Belle joins underneath me, and I promise to put my first 2 people underneath her because she enrolled underneath me. Wrong reasons. Absolutely guaranteed failure rates. Massive failure rates. Does not work. So don't go down that path. Don't do it for them like you don't do the homework. Okay. So what do elite managers do? Almost done. This is the keystone of the arch. They're going to lead by example, like a parent of a family. They're going to continue to sell and recruit and set the pace. As goes the leader, so goes the team. They're going to focus on what we call their circle of influence. These are not just my frontline recruits, but the people below them and maybe the people below them. I'm not suggesting you work 5 or 6 levels deep or something. Maybe in a few rare cases that might be, but it's rare. Usually it's a shallow depth kind of a thing, where it's personal relationships. It's all about that. You find your rising stars in that group. Remember the list of attributes and characteristics, and you help them advance. And you are helping your team achieve the dollar per hour target, $25 an hour. You're going to work tactically. That means skill-based. Again, tactical is I learn the skills, I teach them to you. It's not strategic. That comes next. Tactical is a skill-based thing. So to sum this up, I love this quote from Helen Keller. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. This business is a family business. We create families. We care about each other. We look after each other. I go to conventions and I see these teams coming in and they're carrying flags and they're wearing the same shirts, and I've seen some that have the sparkly things on their heads, and they identify with each other. I was talking some years ago to one of the top leaders at Amway, and I said, forgive me, Amway doesn't have a very good comp plan. He laughed and he said, oh, you figured that out, did you? I said, how do you do it? How do you keep people in the business? He said, it's really simple, Dan. First of all, we try not to overpromise. We tell them they're not going to earn money for a year. How would that be? I'm glad we don't have to have that story. But he says the real secret is in the team. You don't join Amway, you join a team. This is the secret for Nu Skin and Herbalife and Amway and Mary Kay and on and on and on and on. It's about families. So you would be well advised to take that secret and use it in your teams. Develop families, family units. Be a grandma where you've got a bunch of kids running who are now married with their own families, metaphorically speaking, in your downline organizations. If you don't have anybody at that level yet, which I'm sure some of you are in that position, no problem. You'll get there. You'll get there by being the parent of the family that you can be. Do your best. Be interested in their success. This business is mostly done one by one. That's where the magic happens. So thank you.